I understand exactly what you're asking.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, right? This is how I feel. I am going to give the analogy of a plant or an animal. Let's say you're a sunflower, right? You are a sunflower, you get planted in the seed. Next to you, there is maize that's planted as well. But as a sunflower, you want water at certain times, you want certain nutrients, sunlight at different times, and the plant next to you wants similar things, so to speak, but they're different because it's a maize plant. It's not a sunflower plant.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that the reason why a sunflower desires what a sunflower does is because it's ingrained in the sunflower to desire what it wants. It already is.
Yeah.
So a sunflower cannot want water when it should not be getting water.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with animals, instinctual animals. If you see a dog, for example, giving birth, it knows to cut its cord and what to instinctively to lick the puppy, lie down. The puppy knows to suckle. I think that being comes before desire.
Wow.
Desire does not come before. So
are we then chasing what we already are? Like,
that's the
we
point.
are catching
you
up
be
with
chasing.
it. No, I just mean like you're catching up with what already you have been created to be, right? Is that what you're saying?
I will say that it's chasing you. Not you chasing it.
No way. Say what? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that is deep.
because if you honestly.
Oh, hi everyone. Boo boo boo. 2024. New things. This is my first time this year. And yeah, welcome back everyone. And for a change, I have a guest. This is my friend Louisa. This is just to prove that I'm not crazy. I'm not always alone talking to myself. There is someone else that I would love for you guys to just hear this conversation. I think I invited Louisa just because we've always have these deep conversations and they are so enlightening, and I thought, you know what, you guys deserve to hear her. She has such a strong voice. And yeah, would you like to say hi, Louisa?
Hi everyone. So good to be here. First podcast ever in my life. But I'm excited.
Oh, you're gonna do so well. I'm so excited. But yeah, before we get into that, I would like to just do a very quick, teasing question, which for some reason I know what you're going to say to this, but anyway, so after living in the US, and one of the crazier questions that I got, apart from Cindy, where did you learn your English from, was, what is your favorite cereal? Like, what?
I didn't eat a lot of modern cereal growing up. We actually had maize meal with peanut butter. Yeah, and a bit of milk growing up. So when I'm craving a morning porridge-like thingy, that's what I'd go with. The only thing that closely resembles it is maybe oatmeal.
Oh, yes, that is very close.
That's very funny.
And the thing is, I asked you also because I know you're not much of a sugar person as well. Yeah. And so the reason why I pointed that question out was, America's very they have so many thousands of cereal options. And for me, I was like, wait, the most we have is like Wheat Bix, Kellogg's, All Brand, which is the same like Africa, Australia. Anyway, but US, you get a whole of shelves of cereal, but
very interesting. Did you have? I am sure you used to have the maize meal porridge.
Yes, we still, and my mom still makes at home as well for all of us. And so the days where you don't feel like cereal or making oats, yes, that's what we have. So we have peanut butter or one with milk and
exactly
some sugar.
Yes. I don't put sugar to mine. When I was a kid, I hated it, right? When I was a kid, I didn't like it. I wanted everything else but that maize meal. When I was an adult, it's it reminds me of home. It gives me the feeling of home. So
I know,
yeah.
I know. And yeah, both having left home a few years ago to live in a different country, I'm sure there are certain things, especially food. Oh my gosh, I miss my mom's cooking and just, yeah, this westernized life that we're living. But I'm sure you still cook and do your traditional.
Yeah, it's so funny because as a teenager, I'm mostly the one that cooked.
Yeah.
So I took my cooking with me.
Oh my gosh, teach me.
Yeah, I took my cooking with me.
Oh my gosh, my mom already loves you, but she would love you even more because I was never that kid that would help her in the kitchen. I was very much of a tomboy, and I did every sport you can find, and then I would just watch TV. And then my mom would tell my dad that I'm not cooking, and my dad would let me because me and my daddy's girl. And so, but now later on, I'm 33. Like I know how to cook now, but it's one of those things that I wish I learned how to cook traditional home food.
Yeah.
Like now, I taught my mom taking what she tried to teach me, but also learned to eat more pasta. Like more modern
Western food.
Yes,
Western food.
Yes,
yeah.
But when I go home, we eat the samp and beans.
Oh, nice.
Tribe.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to make it.
Nice
but
stuff.
Yeah, anyway, we've been talking about food. And it's 1:30, and so in the afternoon, and yeah, it's making me hungry. So, but anyway, yeah, let's just get into it. And yeah, Louisa, tell us why you're here and why are we here? And yeah, introduce yourself to us and just share what's in your heart and what's your story.
So when we had a conversation about having this podcast, and we were just thinking about what we might talk about, and I knew you were going to ask the question, who are you? And it made me take stock, not just for anyone who may be listening to this podcast, but for myself, to ask myself, who am I? And the first thing that came to my head was my career. So I'm gonna say, this is the career that I do, or my marital status, or where I was born, or my interests. But then I realized all those things are not really who I am. They're just an expression of what and who I really am.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Say that again. I would love to hear that part again.
Oh, you're gonna have to replay it, Cindy. But yeah, I realized I'm not really my career or my marital status or where I was born. I think all those life situations have allowed me to express who and what I am. And I think at my natural nature is that I am a calm, gracious, fun, loving human being.
Yes.
And I enjoy seeing people, including myself, expressing themselves authentically, however that may be. It may be through food, it may be through singing and dancing. And with you, I think the one thing that drew me most to you the first time I saw you was your laughter. You were laughing, and I thought to myself, who is this girl? Why is she laughing like that?
Oh my God.
But that is not because I didn't appreciate it. It's because, growing up in a family background, you can't laugh like that. Women need to be seen and not heard. So I was very silent to my core. But the reason I heard you and I appreciated it was, this girl is freely expressing herself. I would love to laugh out that loud, because at the time I felt like I was hiding from the world and I was not expressing myself. I felt like I was just not seen, but it's not about that. It's just I wasn't expressing myself. So when I saw you doing it, or when I heard you laughing and you were just so happy for life, you wore bright dresses and you have a love for God. You are a full personality, Cindy. So for me, that authentic expression is what made me love you. And I absolutely thought you were beautiful. You know, you're probably one of the most beautiful people that I've seen, you know, not because you wear the trending makeup or the most trending clothes. I think you're one of the most natural people I've seen. You know, you're natural, but it's just you're content in your skin and you love life, you love yourself. Not to say you don't have insecurities, because I think we've had moments where we cried together and we're like, oh,
Oh
we're
my
so
gosh,
scared.
I know.
But at your true core, honestly,
Yeah.
I think you are just so full of life, so vibrant. So I think of you and I see flowers in my head. That's what I think
Oh,
of
wow.
when I think of you. So it's that authentic self-expression, and it has, you know, that in itself has allowed me to let myself be myself as well, you know, to just, you know, at the time that I met you, I used to wear foundation all the time. I'd never leave the house without foundation. And I saw you and I was like, this girl is so happy. She just is. We'd go swimming, and then afterwards we'd go shopping for home cushions and
Yes.
everything. And
Oh,
life was busy,
Kmart.
but it
What
was
is
amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. So
yeah.
anyway, that is who I am. You know, I love people
Yeah.
who express themselves authentically, regardless of what that may be. You know, it helps me appreciate you as a person and myself, you know, because I've extended that grace to myself as well. There have been life experiences, obviously, that have allowed me to express the being that I am. And you know, the life experiences, some of them we've talked about them. You know, I lost my parents to AIDS at 14, and afterwards I had to integrate into a new family, you know, which was my mother's sister, but it's a very new setup and different religion, you know, which was not supportive of higher education. And I wanted to be a chartered accountant. So in the midst of not only not having funds to go to university, my family was not very supportive, because that was choosing things of the world rather than God. And yeah, and then afterwards, well, as you will know, I did pursue being a CA, and I did sever some relationships along the way. And in my 20s, I got married to a very, very wonderful man, a very authentic person. But for some reason, I felt like I was living a borrowed life. It didn't feel like my story, which is a strange thing to say, because it was, you know, beautiful circumstances, wonderful circumstances, but it just didn't feel like my path. And there was a voice inside me that said, let go. And the reason I let go was not out of spite. It was just, I knew he and I would better express ourselves or be happier apart, which was a very hard thing, because it's scary, right? I severed family relationships, first of all, by pursuing higher education and marrying him, because you know, it was my family is very religious, and they didn't want anyone out of that particular religion. So it really felt like I had no one, and I had to face life by myself. But like I'm saying, I had to leave my truth. And if you've been religious, you'll know that there's a lot of divorce is not encouraged. So, but for me, at that time, I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew it was the best thing that I could do for myself and them. It was the most loving course. It was not done out of spite or out of anger. It was the most loving course that I could take. So yeah, I have made a lot of choices that I feel express my sense of being. And to me, they are part of my destiny, which is not separate from God. I think it is part of God's will for my life. I do not see how such loving choices, not just for myself, but for other people, are not of God's will. But some religious people will disagree. You know, they'll tell you a divorce is not religious, or you should have stayed, like the more religious choice is to stay in whatever religion that was, and pursue being um, preach full-time preacher. That's it's a version of a full-time preacher. That is the highest calling for everybody, but I don't think everyone has the same calling. I think we all have different callings.
Yeah.
And it's the ability to live up to that calling, even if it's different from someone else.
Yeah.
That empowers you. Yeah. But also for other people to give other people grace who have callings that differ from theirs. Yeah.
Wow. Now, I wanted to stop you just because I feel like I have so many questions. Like, you said so much that I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had notes. I'm like, I'll grab your notebook. But, oh my gosh, before we jump into the calling
you
part.
You can grab my notebook. I've said everything that I need to
I'll just read everything. But just before we jump into calling, because that's one of the main things we want to be talking about today. I just want to step back. You are young. Your parents died, and you are lost. I would say lost because you don't know like what's happening. You were like, how old were you? 14?
14, yeah.
And at that 14, you're trying to find yourself as well. You're a teenager going through so many things. But what made you believe that I can still come out of the situation? I can still be something better. At 14, I didn't even know what a CA was, a chartered accountant, for all those who don't know. But like at 14, I was still finding myself. And that's how I found Christ as well. Like at 14, that's when I decided to be a Christian, but I'm still under my parents. I'm still in the home. Yeah. But you had a family to look after you, but it did feel like now you had to grow up and make decisions. So how did you get to that point?
It's so funny because I didn't feel lost. Ooh. I was calmer than everybody who was looking at me. I think that people who hear my story and my circumstances are probably more afraid than I was in the situation.
Wow.
That is how I know that it was my calling, because it was always meant to be that way.
Wow.
The way I thought about it as a 14-year-old was it's time to show my power. Ooh. That is how I felt.
Oh my goodness.
I was sad, but in my heart I was like, it's time to be strong and I will shine. That's what I told myself.
What?
It does not matter what happens from here. It is my time to rise. Wow. That is what I thought as a 14-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
That is why I say, if you see someone in a circumstance, you think you know how they feel. And so everybody was feeling sorry for me. I wasn't.
Ooh,
I wasn't in that state. That's why
that's crazy.
I would never have been able to rise out of the circumstances if I was as afraid for my life as everybody else was, because I saw my strength where everybody saw my weakness. I saw my strength. And I was very calm in all of it. I was sad. I have nights for years where I missed my mother and I cried. But I cried because I missed her, because I wanted to share experiences with her, not because I felt she would have made me better or I would have been safer. I knew I was strong enough to live through those circumstances, because if God puts you something, He doesn't leave you without a rope or a means to get out of that situation. So I knew
100%.
I had that much faith. Call it faith, or I just knew. So I was not worried for myself. Other people may have been, but I was so steady in my path. Wow. I was at peace, and I let my mother go at peace, and I was like, and my father, and I was like, this is what it is. I felt powerful. I didn't feel weak.
Sure. No, that is so powerful, because for me, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone else sees the storm. Louisa, without her parents, she's like, no one to teach her which direction to go. And I don't know, it's one of those things, because I think a similar thing with me and you, where you lost them when you're 14 and you just had to navigate life mostly alone, where I also, in my most people have heard my story, where I only met my dad much later in life, and we didn't have money, we didn't have anything. My mom had me when she was 15, and she was alone at the time, and we had to navigate. She had to navigate through life. I had a second mom that I grew up with, and yeah, she passed on a few years ago, and I lived in this family, and only later on did I meet my actual family. But it's all again like we've been through similar things in terms of like my mom grew up in a very rich family, but because she had me and she had chose to keep me, she didn't have
Their
the
support.
inheritance, she didn't have the support. My grandfather didn't want me to live where they were. Even my grandmother, she was the sweetest woman, but she couldn't raise me either. And so us coming now and be like, oh, okay, we both CAs, we both made it out and like became these things and created our own lives. It was like nothing was given to us in a silver platter, like here. And we would have loved that life, right? We both love the soft life.
Oh,
Like,
of course we do.
that soft life.
We love it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But we love that soft life, but it was never given to us. And I really do love that you're giving glory to God, that you knew, like for me, I don't know if it's the same thing with you, where somehow you have this feeling, this knowing that some things are going to work out or something is going to happen, but it's only later on that you actually put words to it, that I only learned later on that, oh, okay, it's God and it's faith and there's this hope that no one else sees. But inside, and you know.
You know the
You
path that God
know.
has promised you. It's exactly yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know,
Yeah.
you always know. And it's not because you only know when things are bad, like I said, I was married before to a very nice man. Things were good. Things were good, but I felt so misplaced. I which is a sad thing because
Yeah.
I didn't
Wow.
know why.
Sure.
But I realized that the life that I was living when I closed my eyes, I wasn't expressing my true nature in the way that I knew myself to be. It's a strange thing to say. I know if you've not lived it, but at the time I knew it wasn't my path, and it was a very scary thing to leave because it's familiar, it's secure, it's a double income. It's
Girl, you're sharing rent.
you're sharing rent, but not just sharing rent. You have friends that are single, and they tell you that the dating market it's so hard, it's stressful out there.
Yeah.
There's so many reasons why not to. At the same
Yeah.
time, I just knew. I looked around and I had been trying to reconcile as to why I was depressed or why I wasn't, I was going through so much internally, but on the outside, everything looked like it was working out.
Sure.
Yeah, but then internally, I wasn't happy. And I realized that the only way that I can be happy is to be my authentic self. And at the time, I was trying to live someone else's story,
Yeah.
and I was trying to be what most African girls would be happy to be, married at 26, have kids at 28 or 29, and then, have the next one and the next one, and then, buy a house somewhere. It's not to say there's anything wrong with that life. It is absolutely beautiful. But for whatever reason, I wasn't ready to do all those
Wow.
things at that age. And my partner was. And it just felt like I was holding him back from the life that he wanted. And I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going in that direction. I don't know why I was not going in that direction, to be honest with you, Cindy. If you asked me, if I had said I'm so much more successful now, I bought 4 houses and I am so much happier, or I'm with someone better, or, that's not how I think about it. I just think that it is a very noble thing to desire, and I was beating myself up as to why I didn't want that at that time. But I had to honor myself. I had to honor myself and say, for whatever reason, I feel misplaced, or God is calling me to a different path. This is scary. I do not know. I feel like you are sacrificing me, God, but okay. If I cannot serve in this place, if I cannot be of service to my husband and to myself, I probably shouldn't be here. Which is not the reason why a lot of people leave, right? A lot of people have reasons about what he did, what he didn't do, he wasn't. But that's not mine. That's not mine. Mine was it was just you. The whole thing just didn't feel right for me at the time, you know. So I think that faith is not just when things are going wrong. It's even in situations where you have a bright future, a good job, but you feel called to a different path. And I think you'd gone through something similar. You know, you were at KPMG, your career was going great, and you felt a calling to go to the US and learn more about God and, you know, pursue ministry. And I feel like at a certain point in life, a lot of people go through that. It's not because there is something wrong, but you just feel like you are being called to a different path.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, that's true. And I will probably just take you back a bit, or just say, hey, in all of these things, where do you think, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but like, do you think we have a hand in directing our own lives, or destiny, or just like, do you think that we know exactly what will be and what we'll do? Or do you think that, can we direct it? Can we make mistakes? Can we like take ourselves out of the will of God? Like, I don't know. It's just,
I understand exactly what you're asking. Yeah. And I thought about it, right? This is how I feel. I am going to give the analogy of a plant or an animal. So let's say you're a sunflower, right? You are a sunflower. You get planted in the seed. Next to you, there is maize that's planted as well. But as a sunflower, you want water at certain times. You want certain nutrients, sunlight at different times. And the plant next to you wants similar things, so to speak. But they're different because it's a maize plant. It's not a sunflower plant.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that the reason why a sunflower desires what a sunflower does is because it's ingrained in the sunflower to desire what it wants. It already is.
Yeah.
So a sunflower cannot want water when it should not be getting water.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with animals, instinctual animals. If you see a dog, for example, giving birth, it knows to cut its cord and what to instinctively do, lick the puppy, lie down. The puppy knows to suckle. I think that being comes before desire.
Wow. Ooh.
Desire does not come before. So when you look at the things that you want, I don't think you should judge yourself. I think you should honor your desires and your natural instincts. You should honor those things because I think you already are. You already are.
Yeah.
Like, you already are. If you look at the future person that you think you're going to be, you are already that person in terms of expressing, the way you express yourself, your sense of being. You are already that person. You don't become that person.
Are we then chasing what we already are? Like,
that's the
we
point.
Are catching
you shouldn't
up
be
with
chasing.
It. No, I just mean like you're catching up with what already you have been created to be, right? Is that what you're saying?
I will say that it's chasing you. Not you chasing it.
No way. Say what? Oh my gosh, that is deep.
Because if you honestly take a step back, if I tell you that, Cindy, I want to be a CFO, which is what I've always said, right? You know, one of my biggest desires
that's her dream.
is to be a CFO. But if you look at me, what do my qualities exude? Do you think that sitting here, the way I speak, the way I hold myself, the way I work, the way I am, do you think I am becoming the CFO, or I already am? It's just a nature of time passing and me getting there. It's being in a space where someone, because we live in a world of perspectives, where someone thinks, oh, now you've acquired enough experience. But I did require the work experience, but my personality didn't. I was already that person. I already displayed those traits. So I already was. I was born that CFO. 14-year-old me was that CFO.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So I think then because you already are, now you think, what career is going to express my sense of being, my calm, organized, whatever sense of being, and then you choose the career. It's not the other way around.
Wow,
so I think that's why people fall into a line of chasing, thinking that you have to chase something. I have to work hard to be this. I have to attract. It's even in, people will say, I manifested, I attracted.
No.
I think you already were. You just had to let yourself be and accept that naturally things that align to your true sense of being will always come to you. It cannot happen otherwise. You see? So, yeah, I think you are that. Before you desire. You are before you desire.
Wow. This is like, I feel like this is our natural conversations. And I'm always constantly learning from you. And just to reiterate what you said, that you've always acted like, I know it was a rhetorical question, the way you're like, do I act like a CFO? Yes, you always act like a CFO. Like your mindset, like your mind thinks in different ways. You're not thinking, Louisa is that 14-year-old child who, no, you are a CFO. You carry yourself as you are. Like even in the current position that you are in, you're already thinking higher, and you don't accept not in an arrogant way, not in a, prideful way, but you're like, okay, I was created for this and I'm going to walk in it. And I love what you said about it's just a passing of time. It's just a passing of time. And I think if we all think of it like that yes, God created me to be this thing. Yes, I might be going in circles.
It's a path. It's, it's a path you have to take. And part of the power is accepting that you're here. It's okay to be here right now. I'm not a CFO right now. And that is okay. That is fine, because it's a path. You can't be walking towards something and then asking, why am I not there yet? God has promised you God has promised you the land of Canaan. He has said, this is the path. You're on the path, but you keep asking, why am I not there yet? So for me, it's like, I'm okay to be here because I'm taking a path. I'll wake up tomorrow, I'll walk again. And one day I will get there, because that is the promise. One day I will get there. If I get there today, that's why I'm saying you can't get it wrong as a human being. You can't get it wrong, and it's never done. It's like it's like your GPS. It's like your, Google Maps. If you walk further, Google will tell you, all right, turn right from where you are, turn right and take this route. And if you turn left instead, Google will tell you, okay, at the roundabout, turn back or whatever. You'll always have that guidance from God. And it's not an angry voice. It's a very loving voice that says, from where you are, this is how you can get to where you need to get. And I am okay with that, because I know that I need to be okay for me to get where I am. If I'm angry, if I'm resentful, if I'm impatient, if I am not trusting, it will only keep me where I am longer. But trusting is allowing God to pick you up and take you right there. It's flowing with life. It's accepting that once you know that you desire because you are, you know that you can't get it wrong. You will always, what's for you will always be for you. And I know people say that all the time, but it's like you can't want things that do not align with your true sense of being, and you can't be anything other than what you are. So, you can't go backwards. You can only expand in nature. It's expressive of God. It's a part of, it's the reason why God created humans, so that we can experience, we can feel, we can, what you want is part of human expansion. And everything is in support of it. God is in support of it. Your friends are in support of it. Everyone wants you to get where you want. People say, I have people fighting against me. That's your weakness. Your belief that someone who doesn't want you to get where you want does have that control. They don't.
No, they don't.
You have everything working for you, Cindy. You have Louisa who's looking at you saying, Cindy, all your dreams, I want to see them come to fruition, because when I see your life working, it means mine has to work out too. What applies to you applies to me.
Sure.
If I see you fail, it means I will fail too. I do not want to see you fail. And if I, as a normal being, even if I were not your friend, can feel that way about you, imagine your friends, who will drop everything and try and help you, propel you to whatever heights you're trying to get. If normal human beings can be like that, what about God?
Wow.
What about God?
Oh my goodness.
And if you don't want to look at it from a human perspective, you want to look at it from a sunflower. If you sit in your house and you say, I do not want sunflowers to bloom this summer, well, you'll be holding your breath for a very long time, because sunflowers will bloom.
It's going to happen.
The sunflowers will bloom. The sun will rise. The next season will come. As is designed by God, and so is human expansion. We all expand by you expanding. If I know you've always wanted a family setup and the way you want it, and to pursue ministry the way you want to pursue it. By observing your progression, your success, I am succeeding as well. Do you realize this is the reason why we watch good feeling movies or whatever? Because if you see someone do something that feels good, it feels like you've done it as well. So I want all my friends to succeed. Right? I want you to do well. I want you to be the absolute best, because it means I can do it too. Yeah. I can make my dreams come true, and there's nothing stopping me. I just have to accept it. The reason I want it is because I am it. I have to let myself experience it. And yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I am like, oh my gosh, I wish we had more time, but I just, this is why I love this woman. And I think one of the things that you just touch on is that, like, this last part where you're like, I see you, my friend, and I want you to succeed. And it's not, I've touched on this podcast before where I talk about competition and comparison, and it doesn't sound like you have any of that in terms of like looking at other people and be like, oh, I want to be better. It's more like we are going together. I want Cindy to succeed. I'm going to succeed as well. And it's not like, oh, I want to succeed. I want Cindy to go backwards, and feeling like spotlight circle. Like, let's say we can't both be sunflowers. I don't know if I'm using your analogy correctly, but it's like, so that part of that we can both be successful, we can both do well, we can both be where God wants us to be. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but you've also really shown that in my life, where you've always pushed me and encouraged me as well, and we learn from each other. And another thing that you touched on was the fact that no one can stop you from being a sunflower. And I think both of us have that in our lives, where we've, like, again, in our careers or anywhere where, yes, we need people to promote us, we need whatever. But I don't think, even if that didn't happen, I think we'd still be where God wants us to be, whether or not Usman Bani had a hand in it. No, it's God. And I think it excites me, because it makes me believe and continue to believe that we will be where God wants us to be. We'll still be sunflowers, come rain or sunshine. Like, it will happen. And it makes me so excited.
It is very exciting.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's not to say, it's not to say that I've never experienced jealousy, because I'm a human being, I have.
Yeah.
But I think it was realizing that the reason that I'm jealous is because I want something, but I believe that I can't have it.
Oof.
And the only thing you have to change is
Oh my
your
gosh.
belief of whether you can get it or not.
Sure.
It's not the other person,
It took a while
right?
for me
If
to get
anything,
there.
that person should be inspiring you to realize
Sure.
that you can get it. So that's
Wow.
every time I feel jealous, I ask myself, what is it about that circumstance or situation that I want? Because the reason I'm feeling jealous is I believe that I can't express it. Like I
Sure.
said, the first time we met, you were laughing, and I was like, this
Who
girl,
is
why
this
is she laughing
person?
like that? But the more I was around you, it was just
Sure.
infectious. Like I'm saying, when I think of you, I think of flowers, just bright flowers. It's my head, in my heart.
Yeah.
It's so bright. It's so
Wow.
joyful because, the moment you laugh, it's intoxicating.
Wow.
It's an amazing energy to have, as a person, Cindy. Honestly, it is just so beautiful. It is, you think you learn from me. I think I had to learn that very important lesson from you.
Wow.
So yeah, I think jealousy and comparison is feeling like you can't be something, looking at someone wanting the same thing and then thinking, but I can't be that. But you can, there's a seat at the table for you. You can
Wow.
come and tell your jokes and we can still laugh. We
Ooh.
never run out of laughing,
Wow,
guys.
yeah.
And, you can be an influencer. I can be. There's so many different types
Wow.
of people and we bring certain energies. There's always someone to appreciate your
yeah.
kind of energy. And it's okay. It's just a very important thing to be aware of.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go back to this and just listen over and over. And I feel so blessed, and I feel so blessed to be your friend and just to sit under you and like, just your wisdom. It's incomparable. And thank you for your time. Yeah, I'll definitely be having you back. We will
I
do
can't
this
wait.
thing. No.
It's always so good to have
Yes,
conversations
I love
with
this.
you.
Unfortunately, yes, it's a timed thing, but if it wasn't, you and I will probably go on for days talking about this thing as we're both passionate about it. And yes, I'm a learner, always learning. So yeah, just sign us off. And do you have any
you.
closing comment?
Yeah, just I think when you close your eyes, I think everyone has it. When you close your eyes, you have an image of yourself, the highest image of yourself, For some people, it's sitting at the dinner table with their family, having a chat, in your, I don't know, your best dress. For me, it is wearing a green suit, sitting in a corner office.
Yes.
That's so everybody has the highest vision of who they are. And if ever you are in doubt, just sit down and close your eyes and be that person. And be that person, because that person is not afraid. That person does not have any insecurities. They can go back to this you and say, everything will be okay. That person is God's highest or God's desire for you. All your wishes true. You are in your healthiest state. You are, you have well-being. You are resembling well-being financially, emotionally, spiritually. You are in your best place. If you are walking in a park, go to that person in a park, that best version of you. Sit in that. Just keep your eyes closed and then come back and let that version of you give you advice right now, wherever you may be. If you're at a crossroads, or if you're not, you can sit in that space for longer and just be that person.
Yes. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
loved having you. And we're closing off and see you next time.